Welcome back, deep divers. Today we're going to tackle something pretty epic, the hero's journey.
Ooh, now that's a topic and a half, isn't it?
You know, that pattern the mythologist Joseph Campbell found, the one that seems to pop up everywhere, from ancient myths to every blockbuster movie.
Yeah, it's amazing how Campbell helped us connect those dots. It's like before him, there were all these separate stories, but he showed how they're all kind of talking about the same thing.
Right, it's like there's this hidden blueprint in our minds or something, a story we all know instinctively. But Campbell went deeper, right?
Yeah.
Like, he saw these myths as more than just stories. He thought they could show us something about ourselves, about our potential.
Absolutely. He was really interested in how myths could offer clues about our spiritual potential. So it's not just entertainment, it's like a roadmap to becoming a better, more complete person.
I like that, a roadmap.
Hmm.
So it's not just about fictional characters going on these grand adventures.
Yeah.
He thought we could use it for our own lives.
Exactly. Think about it. Those times you felt kind of lost or like something was missing. So you step outside your comfort zone, you try something new, you face some challenges, and you come back changed. You're not the same person anymore. That's the hero's journey happening in real life.
I guess we all have those moments, right?
Yeah.
But seeing them as part of this bigger pattern, it's kind of empowering, you know? Like, even the tough times are part of the process.
Right. And it's everywhere in modern storytelling. Look at Star Wars. George Lucas has talked about how much Campbell's work influenced him.
Yeah, Luke Skywalker is like the poster child for the hero's journey.
Totally. From Tatooine farm boy to, well, Jedi Knight, the call to adventure, the mentors, the dark side, the whole shebang. And it's not just Luke. Even Han Solo, starts off as this cynical smuggler just out for himself.
And he becomes, well, a hero. You can't deny it.
Exactly. It's like we can't resist that pattern. It's so deeply ingrained in us. And that's where things get really interesting when you start applying this stuff to your own life. Like, how do you become the hero of your own story?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's like Campbell was really into this idea of following your bliss, but I don't think he meant like chasing after fleeting pleasures.
No, no, it's deeper than that. It's about finding what truly resonates with you, what gives your life meaning and purpose.
And then having the courage to pursue it,
Hmm.
which can be hard.
Oh, absolutely. It often means facing those inner dragons, like fear of failure, what other people expect of you, those limiting beliefs we all carry around.
Like Campbell himself, right. I read that his father wanted him to be a lawyer, but Campbell was passionate about mythology. He chose his bliss, even though it meant going against what was expected of him.
And look at the impact he had. Following his own path allowed him to make such a huge contribution to the world. But it's not always easy facing those inner dragons. Campbell believed we all go through these, like trials and transformations, challenges that push us to evolve.
He had a way with words, didn't he? He once compared it to the story of Oedipus and the Sphinx. I remember thinking, wait, isn't that just about a riddle?
Right, most people remember the riddle, but Campbell saw something deeper there. The Sphinx. The creature with a human head and a lion's body. He saw it as representing the different stages of life we all go through. Childhood, adulthood, getting older. And facing these different stages, that's where the challenge lies.
So it's not about avoiding those challenges, it's about going through them.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Each time we face one of those challenges, a part of us, like the old way of thinking or being, dies off. And that makes space for something new to emerge.
So it's kind of like you have to lose yourself to find yourself. Is that too cheesy?
No, not at all. It's like those times when we resist change, when we cling to the familiar, even when it's no longer serving us, it's those times we're actually preventing ourselves from growing.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like a snake shedding its skin. Gets rid of the old to make way for the new. But it's got to be a little scary, right? Letting go of what you know.
Of course it can be scary. But remember what Campbell said about the darkest moment? That's when the real transformation happens. He even used this great anecdote, a Pima Indian story, about a young woman who kept refusing all these suitors, kept saying no to what everyone expected of her.
What happened?
She kept saying no until she found something truly extraordinary, an adventure that truly resonated with her.
So saying no can be a way of saying yes to something bigger, something more fulfilling.
Exactly. It's about having the courage to step outside of what's expected, to venture into the unknown. And that takes us right back to the hero's journey, doesn't it? That willingness to face the unknown, to embrace the challenges, to, yeah, maybe even slay a dragon or two.
Well, maybe not literal dragons, but I think we all have metaphorical dragons to deal with. I'm sure we'll get into that more in the next part of our deep dive.
Definitely. There's a lot more to unpack here. We've only just begun our journey. And those old myths, they weren't like set in stone. They've changed over time, right? Each culture kind of adapted them to fit their worldview, the challenges they were facing.
That makes sense. So how do we adapt the hero's journey for today? Like, what does it mean to be a hero in the modern world? I mean, it's not all about slaying dragons anymore.
Maybe it's about recognizing those everyday acts of courage and compassion, like the single mom working two jobs to put food on the table, or someone fighting for social justice, even someone choosing to face their own inner demons and, seeking help. That takes a lot of courage.
You don't need a sword and shield to be a hero. Campbell said, the hero is the one who gives their life to something bigger than oneself.
Exactly. That's something bigger. It doesn't have to be saving the world from an evil empire. It could be anything that makes a positive difference, even in a small way.
And Campbell talked about all those different types of heroes, right? Warriors, prophets, tricksters, even lovers. Are you saying, like, we each have our own kind of hero inside us?
In a way, yeah. We each have our own strengths, our own challenges, our own way of being in the world. And the journey is about figuring out what that is, who your inner hero is.
So it's not about trying to fit into someone else's idea of what a hero should be. It's about embracing our own individuality.
Exactly. And using our unique gifts to, contribute to the world in our own way. But let's be real for a minute. Even if we're not facing literal monsters, life can be pretty tough sometimes.
Right, and Campbell knew that. He didn't shy away from the tough stuff. Like, he talked about suffering, loss, even death. Those are all part of the human experience.
And that's where these old myths, they offer a different perspective. They don't pretend that life is always easy or happy, but they do give us a way to understand and deal with those difficult experiences.
Like those stories about going into the underworld, Orpheus trying to rescue Eurydice, Dante's journey through hell. Those always fascinated me.
They're powerful, aren't they? It's like they remind us that darkness is a part of life, but it's not the whole story.
There's always hope, right? Even in the darkest moments. Didn't Campbell say something like, the black moment is when the real message of transformation is going to come?
He did, yeah. At the darkest moment comes the light. It's powerful. It's like those tough times, those challenges, they force us to grow, to change, to become stronger. Sometimes we need that push.
I guess so. Sometimes I wish things were easier.
Yeah,
But maybe that's not the point.
maybe not. Remember those trickster figures we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Like Hermes in Greek mythology or Coyote in Native American stories. They're always causing chaos, right?
Yeah, always stirring up trouble.
But they serve a purpose too. They
Yeah.
shake things up, challenge the status quo, make us question our assumptions.
Oh, I see. So those unexpected twists and turns in life, those moments that throw everything upside down, maybe those are our trickster moments. Those moments force us to reevaluate things.
Exactly. They can be uncomfortable, sure, but they can also be catalysts for growth. They push us outside our comfort zones.
So embrace the chaos.
In a way, yeah, it's part of the process, that willingness to let go of control, to surrender to the unknown. And that's really at the heart of the hero's journey, recognizing that life is a journey, not a destination.
And that we're always growing, always evolving. It's like that image Campbell used, the serpent shedding its skin. It's a symbol of death and rebirth, letting go of the old, embracing the new.
And we go through that process over and over throughout our lives. Sometimes it's a big change, like ending a relationship or changing careers. Sometimes it's something smaller, a shift in our perspective, letting go of an old belief that no longer serves us.
It's about becoming a more authentic version of ourselves, right? Stripping away those layers that we've outgrown.
Exactly. It's a continuous process, this shedding and renewing. The hero's journey, it's not linear. There's no real endpoint. It's cyclical. We face challenges, we grow, we transform, and then, well, we do it all over again.
So even when we think we've reached the summit, there's always another mountain to climb.
That's what keeps things interesting, right? That striving, that yearning for something more. It drives us to explore, to create, to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
Speaking of connection, Campbell believed that myths had this power to bring people together, to create a shared sense of meaning and purpose. Like they were a universal language that could transcend cultural boundaries.
And it's true, isn't it? Those ancient stories, they still speak to us today, no matter where we come from or what we believe. They tap into something fundamental about the human experience.
I think that's what Campbell meant by the unity of life. Like beneath all the surface differences, there's this underlying interconnectedness that unites us all.
And we see that reflected in myths all over the world. The hero's journey, the creation myth, the flood story, these narratives, they're all speaking to the same core truths about what it means to be human.
It's like what Carl Jung said about archetypes in the collective unconscious.
Yeah.
Like, there's this shared reservoir of wisdom and experience that we all tap into.
And by recognizing those shared experiences, those common threads that run through our human tapestry, that's how we cultivate empathy and understanding. That's how we connect with each other on a deeper level.
It's about focusing on what unites us, not what divides us, finding those commonalities that remind us that we're all in this together.
Exactly. And that's the power of myth. It can bridge those divides, foster understanding, remind us of our shared humanity.
But it's not just about connecting with others, right?
Mm.
Campbell also talked about the importance of connecting with ourselves, of listening to that inner voice.
Remember, follow your bliss. That's about aligning with our own unique purpose, what gives our lives meaning and joy.
Which can be hard in today's world, right? With so much noise and distractions, it's easy to lose touch with what truly matters to us.
It is. But those ancient myths, they can offer guidance here too. They remind us that the journey inward is just as important as the journey outward. It's about exploring our own inner landscapes, facing our shadows, discovering those hidden treasures within.
It's like those initiation rituals where individuals had to go through trials to discover their true selves.
Exactly. Think about Psyche, overcoming obstacles to prove her love for Eros, or Arthur drawing the sword from the stone.
It's about claiming our own power, our own unique place in the world.
And those trials, they can be tough, but they're also opportunities for growth. They make us stronger, more resilient.
So those inner battles we all face, those doubts, those fears, maybe those are our trials, our initiations.
Maybe so. And by facing them, we emerge transformed.
We become the heroes of our own stories.
Exactly. We step into our power, our purpose, our true selves.
This is all so fascinating, but I think we need to pause here for a minute.
Yeah, there's a lot to take in. We'll come back with some final thoughts in the next part.
All right, so we've talked about the hero's journey, those big mythic ideas. But how do we actually, tap into that heroic potential in our daily lives? It's easy to get stuck in the routine.
It is, yeah. But I don't think it's about waiting for some epic quest to come knocking on our door. It's more about recognizing those everyday moments where we have a chance to, step up and be a little bit heroic.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's like those small acts of courage or compassion, they happen all the time, but we don't always see them as heroic.
Right, exactly. It's like that person who stops to help someone with a flat tire, or the volunteer who's, spending their weekend helping out at a homeless shelter.
Those are good examples. It's
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be some grand gesture, right? Just those everyday moments where we choose to help out or do the right thing, even when it's hard.
Yeah, even when it's inconvenient, or maybe even a little scary. Those are the moments that matter, because they're all expressions of that heroic impulse, that desire to make a positive impact.
It makes me think of that quote, be the change you want to see in the world. We don't have to wait for someone else to fix things. We all have the power to, make a difference, even in a small way.
And that's so important, especially these days. The world can feel pretty messed up sometimes, divided, uncertain. But these ancient myths, they remind us that at the end of the day, we're all connected. We all want the same things, love, connection, meaning.
It's a good reminder, I think, that even with all our differences, there's this shared humanity that binds us all together.
And when we tap into that, when we choose to lead with compassion and understanding, well, that's how we create a better world for everyone.
Well said. I've really enjoyed this deep dive. It's given me a lot to think about.
Me too. It's been great exploring these ideas with you. And remember, the hero's journey, it's a lifelong process. We're all in it together.
So true. Thanks for joining us, Deep Divers. And remember, keep an eye out for those heroic moments in your own life. They're everywhere if you know where to look.